On June 8th, we commemorate the removal of the relics of Theodore the Commander, Kalliope the Martyr, Melania the Righteous, and Anastasios the new martyr of Constantinople. Regarding Saint Melania was a lady of noble birth, most wealthy and renowned, a descendant of Roman consuls and of Spanish origin. When her husband and 2 of her children died, she departed for Egypt to visit the monks living at Mount Nitria. She distributed her wealth to those that were in need there, as well as to the confessors of the faith who were being persecuted by the Arians. In 3 days alone she fed some 5,000. Then, when these Orthodox Christians were exiled to Palestine, she also went to Jerusalem. There, at her own expense, she built a convent for virgins and reposed therein in holiness about the year 410. Her granddaughter, Melania the Younger, is celebrated on December 31st. Scorning the riches that perish and worldly dignity, thou sought heavenly glory through self-denial and toils, making noble rank more noble by humility, and thou didst build a holy house in Jerusalem, where thou didst guide souls unto salvation. And now, O Mother Melania, grant us the alms of thy rich prayers to God. Regarding the removal of the relics of St. Theodore the Commander, the holy martyr Theodore was from Eucata of Galatia and dwelt in Heraclea of Pontus. He was a renowned commander in the military, and a report came to Emperor Licinius that he was a Christian and abominated the idols. Licinius therefore sent certain men to him from Nicomedia to honor him and ask him to appear before him. Through them, however, St. Theodore sent back a message that it was necessary, for various reasons, that Licinius come to Heraclea. Licinius, seeing this in the hope of turning St. Theodore away from Christ, did as was asked of him. When the emperor came to Heraclea, St. Theodore met him with honor, and the emperor in turn gave Theodore his hand, believing that through him he would be able to draw the Christians to the worship of his idols. Seated upon his throne, in the midst of the people, he publicly bade Theodore offer sacrifice to the gods. But Theodore asked that the emperor entrust him with the most venerable of his gods, those of gold and silver, that he might take them home and himself attend upon them that evening, and promising that the following day he would honor them in public. The emperor, filled with joy at these tidings, gave command that Theodore's request be fulfilled. When the saint had taken the idols home, he broke them in pieces and distributed the gold and silver to the poor by night. The next day, a centurion named Maxentius told Licinius that he had seen a pauper pass by carrying the head of Artemis. St. Theodore, far from repenting of this, confessed Christ boldly. Licinius, in an uncontainable fury, had the saint put to many torments, then crucified. While upon the cross, the holy martyr was further tormented. His privy parts were cut off. He was shot with arrows. His eyes were put out, and he was left on the cross to die. The next day, Licinius sent men to take his corpse and cast it into the sea, but they found the saint was alive and perfectly whole. Through this, many believed in Christ. Seeing his own men turning to Christ and the city in an uproar, Licinius had Theodore beheaded about the year 320. The saint's holy relics were returned to his ancestral home on June 8th. His main feast day is celebrated on February 8th. In truth, enlisted with the King of the heavens, thou didst become for him a noble commander, O trophy-bearer and great martyr Theodore. With the weaponry of faith didst thou arm thyself wisely, and didst utterly destroy all the hordes of the demons as triumphant athlete of the Lord, wherefore we do faithfully call you blessed. The readings are according to the saint. From St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Brethren, God, who is rich in mercy, out of great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead through our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. In other words, when we are in sin, we are dead. But when we are with Christ, we are alive. And he raised us up with him, and made us sit with him in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus, that in the coming ages he might show the immeasurable riches of his grace in kindness towards us in Christ Jesus. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not because of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. In other words, when we do our good works, it is because God made us for good works, and we can't boast in them. However, we take joy in the grace of Christ our God. The Gospel according to St. Matthew. The Lord said to his disciples, Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Beware of men, for they will deliver you up to councils and flog you in their synagogues, and you will be dragged before governors and kings for my sake, to bear testimony before them and the Gentiles. When they deliver you up, do not be anxious how you are to speak or what you are to say, for what you are to say will be given to you in that hour. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will deliver up brother to death, and the father his child, and children will rise against parents and have them put to death, and you will be hated by all for my sake, but he who endures to the end will be saved. With the intercessions of St. Theodore, may Christ our God have mercy on us. I hope that you've enjoyed today's spiritual calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.